It's October 2015. A phone rings. Not just any phone. The private cell of the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Brennan, one of the most powerful men alive, stares at an unknown number. He picks up. On the other end of the line, a teenager. High, sitting in his bedroom in the English Midlands, barely 15 years old. The kid calls himself Kraka, and what he does next will cost the CIA $1.5 million, force federal agents underground, expose classified documents to the entire world, and land him in a juvenile detention center as the first minor in British history imprisoned for hacking. But right now, he just wants to mess with the most powerful spy agency on Earth, and it works. Picture a former mining town in the West Midlands of England. Gray skies, council estates, dead-end streets where the only things to do are kick a football or go online. For a 15-year-old who calls himself Kraka, the internet isn't just a hobby. It's the only place where anything real seems to be happening. He's angry, genuinely, deeply angry, about surveillance, about government corruption, about the US military presence in the Middle East. Every time he opens a news tab, he sees Gaza. He sees drone strikes. He sees a superpower throwing its weight around, and nobody seems to care. So Kraka decides to do something about it. He teaches himself social engineering, the art of manipulating people into giving you information they really shouldn't, and he gets very, very good at it. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, a different kid is waking up to the power of computers. It's 2008, Virginia, USA. A teenager who goes by the name Default. On the surface, completely ordinary. He loves soccer, he loves video games, he has a dog. He also loves to cheat at video games. That's actually where it starts. The rush of bending a system to do something it wasn't designed to do. The electric feeling of getting into places you're not supposed to be. Default tastes that, and he can't stop. He starts learning everything. How operating systems work, how networks communicate, how servers talk to each other, and where they leave doors unlocked. And this is 2008, the golden age of Anonymous. Anonymous. Even if you've only heard the name in passing, you know the image, the Guy Fawkes mask, the distorted voice, the idea that a faceless collective could humiliate corporations, topple websites, and force governments to pay attention. For a teenager like Default, it was everything. You didn't have to be rich. You didn't need a platform. You didn't need anyone's permission. You just needed skill and the courage to use it. But Default hangs around Anonymous long enough to see behind the curtain. And what he sees isn't inspiring anymore. The group is crawling with federal informants. People are being arrested, betrayed, doxxed by their own members. Anonymous has grown so large, so chaotic, that nobody can trust anybody. And because it's the only hacker group most journalists know about, Anonymous gets credited for operations it had nothing to do with. Default walks away. But he doesn't stop hacking. He finds a new crew, a splinter group, more disciplined, more skilled. They call themselves AnonSec, and unlike Anonymous, they aren't interested in fame. AnonSec runs a botnet, a vast, invisible army of infected computers spread across the internet. Each machine is a soldier that doesn't know it's been drafted. Together, they can flood servers, spread malware, and open doors into systems most people don't even know exist. One day, Default is poking through the botnet's inventory, just curious really, when he finds something unexpected. A server. Windsor University, a Canadian medical school. He follows the thread, gets in, pulls up the finance records. And there, laid out in rows on his screen, are the student loan accounts of hundreds of people. $9.4 million in debt. And at the bottom of the screen, a delete button. He pushes it. Just like that, $9.4 million in student debt, gone. Whether the school had backups, whether the debt stayed deleted, we reached out to Windsor University. They didn't answer. 2014. And here's something most people don't know. As recently as 2 years before this story, bestiality was still legal in Denmark. Animal rights groups had been screaming about it for years. Other European countries, Germany, the UK, Sweden, had already banned it. But Denmark? Still legal. And what that created was a form of animal sex tourism that is as disturbing as it sounds. Default has a dog. When he reads about this, about people's pets being taken and abused, something shifts. AnonSec goes to work. They take down the Danish government's official website. They deface it, plaster it with evidence of what's happening inside these so-called dog brothels. They blast the information across social media. They kill the websites hosting this content through denial of service attacks. The information spreads. The world reacts with horror. Parliament is forced to address it. In April 2015, Denmark bans bestiality. Anonymous gets the credit again. Default seethes. But the law gets changed. To understand what happens next, you need to understand what Edward Snowden did to an entire generation of young Americans. May 2013. A 29-year-old NSA contractor, a house in Honolulu, a salary over $200,000 a year, and a secret so enormous he can barely carry it. The US government, his government, had built a machine capable of spying on virtually every human being on Earth who had ever touched a computer. And Snowden had helped build it. He couldn't live with it. He documented everything, told his employer he needed medical leave, flew to Hong Kong, met journalists Laura Poitras and Glenn Greenwald, and handed over the most significant intelligence leak in modern American history. The world argued about what Snowden was, hero or traitor. But for teenagers like Default and Kraka watching from their bedrooms, the message was simple. Your government lies to you. It watches you. And somebody decided to fight back. Now, so would they. Kraka founds a group. He calls it Crackers with Attitude, CWA. The name is ridiculous. The skills are not. Their first target is James Clapper, the National Director of Intelligence. The man who sat before Congress raised his hand and was asked directly, does the NSA collect data on millions of Americans? His answer, under oath, no, not wittingly. Edward Snowden had already proven that was a lie. Kraka Googles James Clapper, his phone number, his home address, just sitting there, one Google search away. With that information, Kraka social engineers his way into Clapper's personal email, posts the proof on Twitter, then routes all calls to Clapper's home landline to the Free Palestine movement. Default sees it on Twitter, messages Kraka. The partnership begins. Now they set their sights higher. John Brennan, director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Kraka starts the way he always does, information gathering. Brennan's phone number is public. It's a Verizon number, so Kraka calls Verizon technical support. He pretends to be an on-site technician struggling to help a customer. The support agent asks for his employee code. Kraka makes one up. It works. The Verizon agent hands over Brennan's account number, his PIN, and his private email address. With just that information, and a few more scraped details, Kraka resets the password on Brennan's AOL account. John Brennan, director of the CIA. AOL account. He's in. Inside Brennan's email, Kraka finds his personal cell number, shares it with Default, and they start calling. They call him relentlessly. They call his family. Default tells him, directly to the head of the CIA, that he is a terrible person. that what he is doing to the world is not a net positive. Brennan, one of the most protected men on Earth, has to go into hiding. His family gets additional security details. The calls are technically just harassment, but nobody knows who these people are or what they're capable of. And then, Kraka remembers what Snowden would do. He opens the emails. What Kraka finds inside Brennan's inbox is extraordinary. A 47-page government security clearance application, Form SF-86, that reveals Brennan's criminal history, psychological evaluations, past drug use, the kind of document that, in the hands of a foreign intelligence service, would be a goldmine. There are also Bush-era policy memos on Middle East strategy, and correspondence from the Senate Intelligence Committee discussing how to make enhanced interrogation, torture, legally compliant. Kraka reaches out to WikiLeaks. Julian Assange takes the call. In October 2015, the documents go live. The CIA's estimated damage? $1.5 million. Dozens of operatives relocated, careers derailed, and the intelligence community publicly humiliated by a 15-year-old who smokes weed and lives in England. They don't stop. CWA social engineers their way into the email account of FBI Deputy Director Mark Giuliano. Inside, a database. 9,000 Department of Justice officials, 20,000 FBI agents, full personal records. They post it. They then breach the Justice Department's Joint Automated Booking System, a database containing records on every prisoner in the United States federal system. They pull the records of fellow imprisoned hackers and post those too. Default, reflecting on this period, says he'd become completely disillusioned, that people's complacency made him feel like chaos and mayhem were the only languages that would be heard. He wasn't entirely wrong. The world was listening, but so was the FBI. Default knows he's a target. He's been paranoid from the beginning. He never logs in on his home Wi-Fi, instead using a satellite dish to piggyback off a Dairy Queen half a mile away. Every device is encrypted. Every connection runs through Tor. When he shuts down a machine, he waits 30 minutes for it to decrypt on restart. He's careful. Until he isn't. One night, drinks, Xbox Live, a friend. The news comes on. CIA director hacked. And Default, drunk and feeling invincible, he talks. Just a little. Just enough. He doesn't think his friend will believe him. He definitely doesn't think his friend will turn him in. He's wrong on both counts. When the FBI comes, they don't knock. They don't announce. They hit the door hard and fast, rifles leveled, agents shouting. Default's computer is mid-decrypt. They flash copy the drive in the window before it locks again. They carry out every piece of equipment in the room, including the hard drive. The one with nearly 1,000 Bitcoin on it. At today's value, roughly $40 million. Gone. Kraka, being a minor in the United Kingdom, received a lighter sentence, 2 years in a juvenile detention center. He became the first minor in British history imprisoned for hacking. Today, he keeps his head down. He wants a career in cybersecurity, and nothing else to do with any of this. Default wasn't so fortunate. 5 years in federal prison, $145,000 in restitution, a significant stretch of that time spent in solitary confinement due to COVID regulations. Standing before the judge, Default said, "I thought what I was doing was right in terms of political justice, but 2 years later, I realized I was completely wrong." Snowden, still in Russia, still stateless, still waiting. In December 2023, the Biden administration renewed one of the most controversial surveillance programs in American history. Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. The Act grants the government authority to spy on anyone in the world, including its own citizens, without a warrant. A U.S. court ruling in 2023 found that the FBI had already misused this database 278,000 times. They surveilled donors to congressional campaigns. They watched January 6th rioters. They monitored Black Lives Matter protesters. Maybe they're watching this video right now. Kraka was 15, high in his bedroom, furious at a world that wasn't listening. Default was a kid who pushed a delete button because student debt felt wrong. Neither of them had the infrastructure of a nation state. Neither of them had lawyers or billions in funding. They had laptops, they had anger, they had time. And for a brief, chaotic, genuinely terrifying moment, they had the CIA hiding. 1-0 on a difficulty scale of 10. Make sure it's worth it.